Good morning, friends. We've been talking a lot about habits, and one of the things that we've talked about before is that there's never a neutral place that we're either moving forward or backward. And if we don't decide, then we've decided. So we think that, I don't know, sometimes I think we just feel like we're maybe moving in one direction or maybe moving forward, but unless we're being very intentional about moving forward, we're probably not. Um, yeah. So it's just important to make those decisions. If you've decided you're going to do something, to decide, to be intentional. I guess it's my big word lately because I know for me, I can be on autopilot. And unless I'm being intentional about things, time gets away from me, habits get away from me. So kind of making sure I'm aware of what I'm doing, very mindful. And anyway, we can decide that on a lot of different things, but
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
think the intentionality is the key because you're right. I mean, we get up, we do our thing. I think especially like when we're working and raising our kids, like it's kind of like we're just doing all the things that we have to do to keep the household going, to raise our children, to get to the work, to do, and then I think that's some of the ways that it gets out of hand because if we haven't been thinking about like adding good food into our meals or getting enough exercise outside of just that crazy time of running around, right? And working. And that may be enough, for that time. But we do need to be intentional about it because then when those things start to wind down, are we just so thankful that our schedules are a little bit less crazy that we don't incorporate some of the other things, or now that we don't have to feed our entire family and think about giving the kids really good food, like are we slacking off on maybe what we're making for ourselves, or now that we're not in the habit of having to run the kids, are we just happy to sit, it's and then things start to creep up on us and all of a sudden we're going, holy cow, like I used to be able to do that, now I can't.
Yeah. It's interesting because that reminded me of something that Gretchen said too, because a lot of times we'll like say we're taking our child to school, and then so we take our child to school, we drop them off, we go to the gym, we have all those things like pairing, I think she called it, pairing habits one with another. And all of a sudden we're not taking our child to school, and then being aware of that, like, oh, I've got to intentionally make it a habit differently. I have to look at it differently now because all of a sudden I'm not going to the gym because I'm not dropping my child off, and that whole sequence is gone. It's really interesting. And it's that mindfulness. And my friend Kathy and I were talking about that, even with cleaning our houses. Because when we had a bunch of kids, we were on it. I cleaned once a week because it was just something we did. And then once our kids have left, I'm like, oh, no, I just really don't want to clean. And I'm like, that's because I got out of that habit of I have this much time, I've got to get going. Now I have this much time and I don't want to spend it cleaning. I want to spend it reading my book or things I couldn't do when I was in that busy season.
Yeah.
And she went, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense now. Although she's good at much better at doing stuff than I am. She's still working too. And I think even working, we have those routines because we have to. We don't have, 5,000 hours. So it gets harder almost but that's where those habits help us because then we just do things and we don't think about them. It's not a debate. We're just doing them. We're on automatic. We just do them. And how do we build that into our lives? But you're right. When something changes, all of a sudden we're like, oh, we've got to rethink that because now we don't have these triggers, good
Yeah,
triggers.
that's
So
huge. Yeah.
it is huge. Huh.
We would love to know what your habits are, your good habits, friends. How do you work it all in so that you make the time for all the things that are important to you? We would really love to know how you do that and what
Mhm.
your tricks are.
Yeah.
So share with us and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.